Oscar Chavula, a seasoned entrepreneur whose ventures span broadcasting, real estate, mining, and technology. With a sharp mind for strategy and execution, he has played a significant role in reshaping Zambia's business landscape. A qualified engineer by training, Oscar's early career included serving as area manager for Geobel & Partners, a multinational firm where he managed high-profile clients such as Toyota, BMW, Mini, and Honda. He is best known as the visionary behind several thriving Zambian enterprises, including Hot FM, one of the country's leading radio stations, Kwitu FM, OZ Empire Works, Bolt Technologies, and Kwitu Travel and Tours. Oscar's entrepreneur journey reflects a rare blend of technical expertise, business acumen, and a deep understanding of the Zambian market. His ability to build sustainable, impactful ventures has earned him a place among Zambia's most respected business leaders. Prepare to glean from a journey shaped by vision, resilience, and as a result, we welcome Oscar Chavula, here to equip us to occupy with focus, discipline, and direction.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. I've never felt this warm, like where I'm working around myself and I'm like beginning to pant and I'm like, is that introduction for real? First things first. Grateful Pastor Bishop Sidi for the invitation. Indebted to what you do. We see what you do. And many of our friends come through, but most importantly, the enlargement of the work, what you're doing, what God is doing through you in this nation is totally astounding, and we're grateful. I'm personally indebted to your kindness. Thank you so very much. And Mom and the rest of the team, we're grateful. May I take my jacket off? I'm feeling really hot. Okay, I think we're better off now. Thank you for making time to come through. When I saw Bishop is saved in my phone, I think in many of your phones, as Battle Axe. So every time Battle Axe pops up, I know we're about to do something serious. So I felt the need to create the time just to be able to be here. But most importantly, I felt this is something that I couldn't miss for the world. But I'm also grateful for friends like Pastor A who will encourage me, like, if you can create time, go ahead and create time. Thank you so much. Quite a number of friends have encouraged me, and a lot of people here. So I have listened to the XYZ of everything. I was in yesterday. I was blown away. But more so, if you could allow me, I'm going to do the ABCs. Is that okay? So let me do the simple part of all of this, and I don't know if I'll manage to even eclipse my younger brother Pompey. It was excellent. May God continue to bless you. So I'm trying to settle down. I'm sure you've noticed. Yeah, but I will settle down. But let me dispense with the niceties. And the reason I'm saying that is so that we establish where we're talking from and where we're going, and we'll be quick. Because mine is to just tell my story, and I'll lean on to four points, four things. Hopefully we can quickly be able to run through them, and then if we have time, I'll tell you a secret. Is that okay? So obviously a secret is something that you tell one person at a time. So I'm hoping that if I'll have time, I'll walk through and tell each one of us a secret. Is that okay? So I'm the seventh born of 8 children between George and Mary. I grew up in Kitwe. My father passed away when I was 8, I think just slightly over 8. And I got Mtumbuka, so I think when after my dad's funeral, we basically were divided. I think my cousins and my older brothers decided to pick a child each. So I went to live with my older brother 80 kilometers from where we used to live. We moved into Nkana East. And when I moved into Nkana East, I was still very young. So I didn't know much about life, but I was excited. It looked like a new venture. But I remember just before we left home, my mother telling me, I'm quickly wanting to get into the car so that we go to this new place. My mother told me that you're going to live with your brother now, so you're going there specifically for school. And I want you to focus. Now, you know what? You're telling an 8-year-old all of this. So all I want is a new adventure. So we quickly went, and when I got to my brother's house, he had 6 kids. And I got integrated. I didn't really see any problems. But there's something that almost instantly changed. And I couldn't see my father. And then seeing my mother or asking for my mother looked like, why do you want to go there? So, there's that disconnect. So I'm trying to connect, but there's a disconnect. So I could see my world crumble a bit. But then the words that my mama told me was, you're going there for school, kept on ringing, and I'm thinking, I'm too young for all of this story. But then again, I settled in, and over the years, a few things begin to happen. Now, the reason I'm giving you this story is because I've got 4 points that I want. So at some point, I'll stop, and then I'll walk you through that. Is that okay? So the first thing that immediately happened to me was when I turned, I think, 10, between 9 and 10, just before then. So I was my grades were good in school. To be honest, I'm not that, if you're that parent that tries to encourage your children by saying you used to pass number 1, but you were not, that's unfortunately. Me, number 1 became like the usual. If I became number 3, I'd cry. If I came out number 3, I'd really cry. It's like, napa for muntu, And my older brother didn't understand that. So the idea that I was told, you went there for school, go knock it off, and then we do other things. So that became my driving force. And because it became my driving force, every time I didn't do well or if I missed something, I felt I was letting someone down, more specifically my mother. But mostly because she wasn't there. If she hears about it, she'd feel maybe I'm playing around a little too much. But in so doing, I built certain protections around me. That means I focused myself basically internally, where all I wanted to do was do good by the person that had given me birth, but more so the person that wanted me to achieve stuff. To cut the long story short, I was at Riverine Primary School, went to Kitwe Boys for a year, came to Rhodes Park for another year, went to Monali for 3 years, went into South Africa where I was technical and Witwatersrand then. But I think now they've renamed it. I don't know what it is now, but I think it's Johannesburg University or something like that. But that was in the 90s. But I quickly realized that when I walked into a foreign land, I wasn't really a stranger because I think I'd lived in a foreign house. So the achieving part kept on pushing. So I always wanted to get over and done with school. And for me, my fear was I do not have a father. So I can't afford to repeat a class. So, where I'm being told this particular subject, you take it next year. For me, I started studying it before I was even allowed to. Because I was in a hurry to not give my mother pressure, but more so, I didn't have a real sponsor. So even when I was walking into South Africa, I remember vividly, before I left, Bishop will tell you we had an auntie called Auntie Amy. She's still around. Uncle Swale passed away last year. I went to her and said, Auntie, I need to get to South Africa. I already have an admission letter, but I don't really have transport to get there. I've already paid the first semester. And she said, just wait. You can't leave today. You should leave tomorrow. Let me speak to your uncle. And when she spoke to uncle, I think uncle had some dollars and some rands. In the morning, she says, you can come and have them. I picked that, and then I went into South Africa. I was all by myself. Like in the early 90s, you're walking into South Africa, and I literally landed in Berea, just next to Hillbrow. Those that have been to South Africa, that's extremely rough. But I knew exactly that I needed to get over and done with school. So in doing all of those things, I quickly realized a few things. Why am I here? Because I dressed everything, I then began to recount, why am I doing this? What's the story here? But then, when I was around 9, 10, I was outside the house, and an in-law of mine, my sister-in-law's brother, came to me and said, your grades are good. Why don't you do medicine? You should focus on that because I think you can be able to do that. But something in me told him I can't. Firstly, I don't like blood. And for me, the idea of kutumbula bantu is not my core. Then he asked me why. Then I said, for me, I know how to work with my hands. So the first thing that I quickly realized in my early years was, why am I here? Now, I know a lot of people take you into business because sometimes it looks like try your hand at anything and just throw things around and see what works. And many times you consume a lot of your time, you may not know where you're going, and you may be challenged in one area or two purely because you are trying your luck. But you must also understand that by trying your luck, the one thing that may not be very friendly to you is time. So because everything is time sensitive. So I quickly remember that, and I told him, for me, I'm a technical guy. So when I was in South Africa, I realized I'm already in college, I'm a technical guy, I know why I'm here. But I still feel there's an issue here. So what is the issue? And that's why I said, I'll need to dispense with two things. I gave my life to the Lord Jesus Christ. And I need to dispense with this because sometimes when you see us there, you assume probably we got so in love with the world that we forgot. So I gave my life to the Lord Jesus Christ on 16th of August, 1986. Now, I'm not giving you the years so that you should be afraid of me. I'm simply trying to tell you that there was a point at which I needed to make a decision. And that point is the point when, after I left Northmead Church that day, I decided to go home because Pastor Mtemi had spoken about hell and whatever it was. But I did know that particular day I went and knelt down and I gave my life to the Lord. Now, so I'm in a foreign land now. So if you've noticed, I'm drawing you and pulling you back for a reason. So I'm in a foreign land, and the first day I'm reaching there, I'm in South Africa. So I've been to the college, I've sorted all of that out, but I realized I don't even have enough to last me a week. So I need to find a way to be able to go to school every day, but I need to sleep somewhere. So by so doing, what then popped up, I know a few Zambians. Let me tell you, people in foreign lands flip, eh? Yeah. I've had to rescue a couple of people abroad. They got visas, they arrived, and then the person stopped picking their calls. But whilst I was in there, I noticed that it's difficult. I had the misfortune of the 250 rand that Auntie Amy had given me to go and give it to some guy. I'm not going to mention his name because he's still alive. But I forgave him and I love him. But the long and short of it is, he had promised me a room. So when I got there, he just said, make yourself comfortable. I thought it was a temporary movement. But then I realized 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, I was still sleeping in the lounge, and it wasn't making sense. When the day that I asked them why, he told me, you can leave if you want. Now, I'm new in this place. Now, that's what I get. But I was I don't know. I went to a Zimbabwean guy who I just met earlier, and I told him, to be honest, I think I'm homeless. Are you able to take me in? I'm at this school. I just walked to school, so you're not going to have a problem with this. No, come in for a few days. So I hung around him for a few days, and then hanging around him for a few days, I realized it was better, but I could do life. So I began to understand the circles, and I quickly noticed that the only thing that I knew how to do well was Christianity. The only thing that I was very conversant with was church stuff. Because I was 13 when I gave my life to the Lord. So by the time I'm turning 18, 19, I think Bishop will tell you we did have a proper youth, and I do know you do have. So, and I led the youth at the time. So by the time I was leaving for South Africa, me and Jesus, we were close. So we knew each other well. So I had no doubt about what will become of me there. But I did know I needed to find a home church. I needed to, so I established myself in that setup of a church. And because I was a church boy, the language is not that complicated. You know that. It pretty goes with bless you, amen, thank you. You get the point? So I sort of could fit in. But we'll come to the business side. So it's at that stage that I think now I'm maturing. I'm beginning to understand life. Then I go back, I understand I'm a technical person. What I have in my hands is ability. What do I really know? So I start looking for, when I'm not in school, I need to look for some jobs so that I can keep going. Now, as I'm going to where I used to live, I passed through a place called Chelsea Hotel. How many of us have ever seen that hotel? Maybe they've changed the name now. But in there, employment offered and all of that. So I walked there, and to cut the long story short, the guy asked me yes, you can work here. I think it was 200 rand for that week. And he asked me to literally knock out some concrete thing that was in the middle. And I had to do it with a 4-pound arm. And every time I'd come out of there, it would be like I was bitten. But I was in a space where my misery level had exceeded my fear factor. So I was not necessarily bothered by what people think, how tall you are, how handsome. I couldn't care less. All I wanted was to be able to have a home and be able to go to school. Those two things. So to cut the long story short, I knocked that off. Chelsea was a brothel. Chelsea Hotel was a brothel. So in my Christianness, I was working in an environment where people are touching me for free. Where someone just passes and gives this comment, and you're like, not me. I'm not cut out like that. But I remember very quickly that I still needed to do this. I went on to so I got to know a gentleman called Baxo Susan, who then said, you have, your hands are good. I have a flat here. I want to change all the doors. I want to do this. Are you able to do this? With a friend of mine called Pule. We went there. I changed the doors. Before then, I quickly realized the only thing that was between me and everybody else was my ability. So I knew what I was designed for. I know corners. Me, when I look at that corner, I can tell you there's something wrong. Even if someone is building for me, I'll tell them. Many of them would argue and say, no, it's okay. You just can't see it properly. No. I know an angle when I see an angle. I know a bent wall when I see a bent wall. So during that time, I worked and we changed the doors. Bax promoted me. He was giving me good money, and I was still going into school. But so what I'm trying to tell you now, in this particular part of what I'm telling you, is understanding your giftings. Now, I am a fatherless guy. Not literally, but spiritually, no. But the truth of it is, I quickly understood that I have every reason to fail. I don't have a dad. Some of you, obviously, God bless your souls, you've had a great dad. I didn't have a father. So, because I didn't have a father, there's a few things that I could have picked up, but I didn't pick up because my brother sometimes was like, it's not my father, it's just my brother. So you tell me things, maybe stop that, don't do that, go there. So I didn't necessarily fit in properly, but I knew I had giftings at certain things. But my brother brought me in such a way that because I understood my giftings, he constantly made me things that I was good at. So many times, I saw this later in life that for the bigger part of my life, my hands or my technical abilities have constantly opened doors. Why? Because I recognized my giftings and I sharpened it by taking it to school. Does that make sense? Now, you must understand, I'm paying for my own school, so it must be difficult. So, at that time, people are telling me, no, you know what? Get a course that you can finish tomorrow and start working. But I then understand very quickly and clearly that, firstly, I don't have the time, but secondly, I've got to succeed. And I have to finish this course with excellent results. So I'm not like working, but like, let me just finish. I hope to finish. No. I have to knock it out of the park. So we should never talk about, no, if maybe this course, maybe should. No. I don't want to redo anything. I'm going to knock everything. So for the next 3 years, I worked so hard, completed, and then as soon as I completed, I was walking out of uni after I got my results, and they were told graduation is in August. And then one of my lecturers calls me and says, I might need to see you in my office. I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, for me, it's no more. At least I've done this. So let's find out how we do this. He then tells me Anglo-America loves your result and they want to take you on. I'm like, really? Okay, so which part? So he quickly arranges it. Within a week, I go in, they take my finger, they do whatever they need to do. Then there's an issue now, like work permit. I'm like, how am I going to get this? Because I need to go back home and then come back. Then someone passing through those offices just says, I can help with that. Where are you from? From Zambia? Yeah. Okay, eh? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. So all of these things are happening, and the direction I'm trying to lead you is that people have seen my grades. People have seen my ability, and I'm able to sustain myself, and I'm coming from a home that I'm paying for. So it is difficult, extremely hard, but I have committed myself to doing this. So because of the few things, of course I'm stumbling here and there. I'm a young man sometimes. Just certain things that I'm probably picking, the nuances I'm learning. But I do know my anchor point is Jesus Christ. Now, sometimes this may look easy. It is not easy. Why? Because until you reach a stage where you don't have to call yourself a Christian, people have to call you, then there's an issue there. If you have to introduce yourself, like me, I'm this and I'm a Christian. Tikariko. You have to be able to walk into a room and people say there's something about you. Now, I didn't know Anglo-America, but my results spoke for me. Even when I walked in, at that time they used to call us queries. Even when I walked in, the people that didn't like me were the South Africans. But I would work with the rest of the whites. But before time, I remember someone calling me in the office, Oscar, I think we have something for you. So I'm walking to that office. And there's something that he tells me, like, would you like to try something out at Q Data? I'm like, what is that? No, just programming, something that you've done before. But, like they're very versatile, so they can send you in and out of town. I'm like, okay, allow me a moment. Let me go and see my mom. I haven't seen my mom in 3 years. Let me go home, and we're going to do this when I come back. So I'm allowed to come back home. When I come back home, I haven't spoken to my mom in 3 years. Now, I was very deliberate about that. And my reasoning was, every time I'd think about home, I knew there were needs, and I couldn't fulfill them. So, like I've seen my mom go to Kumawala. Like I could see, like when I was younger, every time I'd go and see my mom, my mom was a nurse, a midwife. So she would literally surrender her entire family, her entire salary, that January, just for me to go to school, And, like that used to rub me off like, no. So I would like, okay, I don't want to know the problems. Because if I know the problems, then I would be a little bit disturbed. So by the time I'm coming back, I have my full salary. And I was like, yeah, the first one goes to your mother, you know? So I'm coming here with proper runs. Like, Mom. Says, yes. Like, how you've been quiet. We almost thought something had happened. And I'm like, I'm okay, Mom. And now I'm working. I'm this. And here's your money. My mom is not interested in my money. She said, how are you? I'm like, really? All this thing. She's more focused on my well-being. But this takes me to what my older brother said one day. So because I'm adept with my hands, very quickly, when I was young, I used to make wire cars. So I'd make like proper, the night riders. And the children around the neighborhoods, they'll come and buy them from me. But every time we'll do that, it's during holidays. So I'll make quite a number of them. And what will happen is, whilst we're doing that, the rich kids around. So some of us were like, Batsunga coffee. But the others, they had money, so they would come. So I'll make those cars and all of that. Now, in making all of those cars, I'll sell them to them. And after, like around the evenings and all of that, me and my nephew Malu, who is a grown man now, I'll actually take him because he was probably my favorite nephew. Because sometimes, there's always someone who tells you stuff, who's giving you info, or whether you are liked, whether you made a mistake, So that was my nephew. So I walked with him, and we'll go to Chavula. If you've been to Quito, there's a place called Chavula. There used to be a place which used to have good cream puffs. So buy cream puffs, and then we'll have our fill. One day, just before we opened schools, I went to my older brother. I'm like, I need books. And then my older brother tells me, you need books? You didn't buy books? I'm like, no, from where? Like, I've been seeing you eat cream puffs here. Eh? I'm like, but that's my money. He says, no. The same money that buys cream puffs buys books. I want you to mark that. The same money that buys books. The same money that buys iPhones pays rent. So you need to begin to recalibrate yourself. That's the first time I heard the truth about money. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Do you realize that everybody in here, how many of us are like sense? Huh? Bishop, there's no sense in here. No. But in our days with Bishop, when they'll say sense, we were sense. Like Christians were called sense, isn't it? You are all sense. Is that okay? Now, I quickly realized, and I do have a few more minutes. I quickly realized that understanding money was one of the frailties of many people, including Christians. Because the one thing that you realize is that every one of us here is looking for money. Do you realize that? Do you know that? Even the sister next to you is looking for money. But the million dollar question is this. What makes you think you deserve it more than the next person? What makes you think so? Oh, because you're qualified. Oh, really? Or what? Because you're beautiful? Handsome? That's why you need it more? Not at all. But what makes you think you should donate it that easily? If you have a poor relationship with money, you will find it difficult to occupy. Why? Because money has rules. And, like I've heard people say, that is satanic money. Money has no soul. Money has no spirit. Money is paper. I knew it was going to shock you. Money is money. My take is you need to have an attitude towards it that allows it to grow with you. So, before I tell you the secret, which I will tell you. We'll get to that. So now, I'm flying back to South Africa. So I get into South Africa, Q data, I find myself in the UK. And I'm a young systems engineer, and I quickly realized that we are stuck in these, like the big companies there, like real industries. So, like during break, you meet people that are new, you get to understand them. You're probably competitors, but because you're people, you're just people. If you're going to have tea, you're going to have tea. So ask Lee, you are their supervisor there. How much are they paying you? And he says, it gives me a funny number. And I don't believe him. I'm like, me, who came from abroad, I'm getting 16,000 rand. You who live here is getting 96,000 rand. Equivalent. It's not making sense. And he says, no. When my boss comes, because we've seen how you work, when my boss comes, you should speak to him. Months pass, weeks pass, and then I think there's a few weeks before I head back to South Africa. So there's this big boss comes in, and he just tells me, see him. So I go and see him, and I tell him I'm a systems engineer by training. This is what I do, blah, 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 blah. We just talk. Do you have papers? I'm like, yeah, no. Do this. Give them to this guy. Let him bring them to the office. I forget about it. So a week later, I get a call. This is Dino Kyriakos. You want to come to the office? I'm like, Dino who? Kyriakos. No, the guy, the one in charge of Global and Partner. I'm like, yeah, I can come. Wait. He tells me, Kanok. So I quickly get to Kanok. He says, no, I can see you're qualified. I can see this is what you've done. Would you like to work for me? I'm like, sure. How much? Okay, you'll be below Lee, but I think I like what you're doing. I've heard what you've been doing there. It's fantastic. So he's seen my CV. He's not interested in talking about my CV. He just went like, listen, you can come. Then I'm like, hold. I am Zambian. My visa is under Q data, so I can't just jump. He says, oh, really? Okay. Share with me your passport. Do you have it on your, no. Drop it off. The following day, I drop it off. I go and do what I do. 2 days later, he calls me and says, forms that you need to sign. I go and sign the form, so I can see things are moving. Before I realize it, a week before I head back into South Africa, he tells me, you may need to stay longer so that your visa is processed. Before then, my visa is processed, and I get permanent residence. I'm like, that was quick. Wow. But it's in realizing all of these things, and I'm telling you my story so that you realize that the only thing people were recognizing was not how black and tall I was. It was ability. So they could, they will not tell me that you're good at what you do, but they'll just say, you know what, you can work with me, Just dampen my expectations so that I'm like, just like any other employee, it will be okay. You get the point. So I started working for Global and Partner. Before long, we had a crisis at Toyota Derbyshire. And when we checked everything, I realized that, to be honest, I'm the only real engineer here. These other guys, I just happen to have done this longer. And they don't actually, to be honest, they're not programmers. So if there's an issue at Toyota, I think I can sort it out. Thank you so much. So eventually a team of 14 people are sent to Toyota. When we get to Toyota, the people at Toyota don't want us because they think we've wasted their time. In the industry, in the automotive industry, they consider downtime a problem. They don't want to stop production. So whether it's their fault or your fault, you have to fix it. Otherwise, you begin to lose money. So there's a contract. If it's your fault, you lose money. If it's their fault, they don't lose money. So I can see the pressure from the office to be able for us to get on top of this thing. Now, I can also tell there is no real leadership here. So I can tell Lee wants to help, he means well, but is not sufficiently trained for the things Toyota is asking. Now, because he's my senior, I'm like, okay, fine. I can do your job. I can get it done for you. I'll clean all of this mess up, but I need time. So first week, second week, third week, things, like Toyota doesn't want us. You can see they don't want you, but they can't break the contract because it will cost them. So, like you can see, they brought an expert around us, until one of the guys, Stevens, calls me and says, I can see you're a programmer. Do you think we give you more space to work on this? I'm like, yeah. So I go in there, we sort all of this. So weeks are passing, I'm sorting out things in the back end, in the background. Before long, I think 8 weeks down the line, we are stable. So the lines are not going off. Everything seems to be working all right. But then we have a whole fresh problem now within ourselves as a team. Because now we have a problem. Toyota knows who's the donkey here. We have a problem, a real problem, because Toyota now, instead of talking to my bosses, they're talking to me. And then I'm talking to my bosses. And they don't like it. Like, this email, why was it sent to you and not to HQ? Simple things like that. Now, I understand the dynamics here. So, the only saving grace there is the fact that we are stable. So, they can't pull me out of there, because if they pull me out of there, Toyota will like all of you go. So at that time, I'm working now, literally working 3 shifts sometimes. I spend a lot of time there just to clean up. Eventually, we get on top of it, and we're good. And some of the mistakes were just due to carelessness, lack of excellence on our part. Now, let me tell you something. You can have a multi-million business. If you lack excellence, it will visit you one of these days. You have to prioritize excellence. You have to know that there are certain things that cannot be said about you or in your name. That includes mediocrity. That means you must understand, if you're going to occupy any place, work environment, wherever you are, you must understand that mediocrity to work to knock off. The person just walked in and is like, where are we going? Like, where are you supposed to go? Back to Toyota. So we deal with that. But once we deal with that, I quickly realized Toyota's attention has shifted from global to me. So if something goes wrong, instead of them calling the office, they're calling me. But I think at the office, they are also settled that that's probably the person that they should be dealing with if we're going to maintain order. We ran through that contract. Once we ran through that contract, I think with 2 weeks to go, Toyota offers me a contract. I'm like, Mwalanji Paisha. But at that time, because I've worked for Gobo for a while now, there's a lot of things that are going on. But I'm candid enough to go back to the office and said, I know what my contract says. I can't stop work here. I can't also engage with Toyota until 6 months. But maybe they want to keep your contract. So they've offered me this. I was totally naive. My boss went off. We can lose the contract. You're not going to work for them. If it has to die, let it die. So eventually, I declined the contract. I work for Toyota. I work for Global and Partner. I clean up the problem. In Derbyshire, in Hellsmere Port, in Swindon, I just become the normal guy. And, like sometimes it takes quite a bit for you to normalize in those areas, because the first thing that doesn't speak well of you is your color. So sometimes you just have to earn it. Like, I know what I'm doing. They'll say, no, prove it. Now, in proving that, I work for them. But in the background of all of this, I'm an entrepreneur. So there are things that I'm doing. So I've got a network company. There are things that I feel I need to hold on to, because that's my trade. So I have schools, and we still return the schools that we were serving 21 years ago. But the long and short of it is, it gets to a point where my heart is back at home. Now, this sounds silly, but I knew that I only needed to be abroad for limited number of years. So I didn't have loans. I didn't have a mortgage. There's certain things that I set not to do even when I lived abroad. Why? Because I knew if I have a mortgage, I can't leave. If I have a credit card, I can't leave. Some people think credit cards are free money. They are not. Right now, a credit card can destroy your life. Because I do know some people can spend and not want to pay. But you must understand that we live in a global village. That means what you do in America will visit you here. You may not believe me, but it's gotten so small that there are certain things that you need to be very cautious of. So I was privileged when I got there. The people who tell me, how long are you going to be here for? I'm sure you're here for a long time. But I knew I needed to get back home. But more so, there was an issue. The issue was my mama. So I hadn't spent a lot of time with my mom. And, I'm a mama's boy. So I'm thinking, no. I've seen my mom a few times, but it's not enough. So I need to get back home and just secure my mom and make sure that at least she can stop doing anything she's doing. I'll sort it out. So I'd worked at Bocam, the same company, Global and Partner, sent me to Bocam in Germany, where I worked for a while. They sent me to quite a number of countries, I think 26 or 27, during the time that I worked for them. So the day that I was leaving Toyota for the last time, as I'm leaving, there's a lady that calls me and says, are you going to your office? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to my office. I said, no, please take this envelope to Heather Hanley. Heather Hanley was our office manager. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll take it. So I quickly take it. Now, when I took it, I'm even driving off. Then I need to get to BP, get some fuel. But my tank was very near my tank was very near my steering. I'm not going to mention cars. My tank was very near the steering. So as I'm putting the fuel, I can see their numbers in there. But it's not my envelope. So the temptation is, what numbers are those in there? So when I get into the car, the envelope is not even closed. So I open it. Then I realize there's a check of 3.6 million pounds to Global and Partner. So I'm thinking, wow. So this is me. That's the first time I saw my value in millions. The first time. I'm like, this salvation at Toyota is being birthed on my back. So this toil, this 3.6 million pounds, is as a result of my ability, my sweating, my commitment, and my excellence. That particular day, something moved inside me. I am more at peace now than then, but I realized that my worth was beyond what I had seen. It's me who didn't know. Everybody else knew. Because, like people do you favors. Like at Christmas, is the best employee of the year, there's the car. I'm like, yo, it's nice here, eh? But what they wanted to do was to keep me there. Because before I realized it, if I just acted like I'm tired, everybody will be like, is it a salary increase? Is it this? And I'm like, why? Why do you people panic over? I quickly realized that for the longest of time, the only person who didn't see my value was me. Now, you could be in that organization where you're the donkey, where you're the toiler, and the only person that doesn't realize their value is you. How are you going to occupy? So that is the day that I drove home, a 38-mile drive. I was in that space. I'm so glad I know. But then I'm thinking, what was that about? You mean these people have just been riding me, isn't it? I've literally been a donkey. But I knew my worth that day. The next few months, I prayed about it. I sought God about it. Like I was in two minds, but I knew I needed to come back home. So I was in two minds. I sought God about it. Then I picked up a call and said, Mom, I'd like to come back. I'm thinking about coming back. That was not a good idea. My mom said, no, kala go kwini. Things are okay. Because I'd stopped my mom from working and she was comfortable now. So I could tell the only reason she doesn't want me is to carry on. So it's like, what do I do? But I'd done a lot of soul searching and I knew that my real value would be back at home. So because I'm a systems engineer, I knew I had education. I had backup. So I began to see what can I do when I get back home. Again, it sent me back to giftings. This is what I'm good at. This I can be able to do. But eventually I tell Mr. Kriakos, I walk into his office and I tell him, I need to get back home. I'd like to tender my resignation. I'd like to go in the next 3 months. Whatever you need me to do within the next 3 months, I will do. He says, are you okay? What is the problem? Like they would quickly jump to the money problem. Is it the money? Has anybody else offered you a job now? Like they would not understand. And I remember him saying, why do you have to go to Africa? Like it sounded silly. Why? I'm like, I have an aging mother. And he says, no, we can fly your mother here. You're going to fly my mother here. This is not her natural environment. She will collapse quick. But he just wouldn't let me. But eventually he says, okay, give me 6 months. I'll ask you to train Bertie Robinson, train him, see what we can do, but we'll see what happens. So that 6 months, I trained Bertie. I'm with Bertie everywhere. So Bertie gets to know what I do. He's not a programmer, he's not an engineer, but he's quick-handed. So he learns a few things. But before I leave, obviously, the one thing that I quickly realized was I needed to maintain a healthy relationship with Dino. And the reason was simple. He had been kind to me. But more so, I am a Christian. So I was not going to say, no, for me it's 3 months and I'm out. I gave him the extra 3 months he had asked for. What is the lesson? Do not burn bridges. Christians have a tendency of burning bridges because they heard something. Let me warn you, it will come to haunt you in life. I have worked for people that when I left, they were glad that I was genuine and honest. I've also released people in life who were good, but they needed to go. The one thing we've done is, I wish you well and God bless you. Is that okay? So, Dino then releases me. But the day he's releasing me, says, I would like to retain you as a consultant. I'm like, oh. Because I'm now thinking, this is designated for those there. He says, no, I'd like to retain you as a consultant. We can renew this contract every year. Whenever there's a crisis here, I'd fly you first class. You come and sort it out. You live in a hotel of your choice. I'm like, wow. It's like, this is good. But the one thing that I realized was like, when did he figure this out? That bothered me in life. I'm like, when did he know my value? But obviously before I did. So I get released. I come through. When I come through, I think my nephew then, Zach, is trying to birth Hot FM. That was not my original idea. But I was funded. So because I had cash, he had the vision. So I said, okay, fine, let's do what we can do. To cut the long story short, we start the radio station. When we start the radio station, I realized our sound is good, but our systems are completely off. Because he was a good radio person, God bless his soul. He's my nephew, I loved him dearly, but he wasn't a businessman. So we were literally not making money, and then I now started paying salaries off my pocket. Like, I have to work for Gobo, come and pay salaries. It wasn't going to work. In the second year of the business, we decided I will run the business. Now, obviously, didn't come out, you're the what. I have never been a sucker for title. I have no care for them. But I quickly realized that we needed to work. And in working, we quickly noticed the differences, the distinction. But there's something that I quickly learned when I worked abroad and when I worked in South Africa and wherever I've worked. I learned a few lessons. That would be part of the secret if I have the time. But I quickly realized that you needed to apply yourself, but not just apply yourself. You needed to understand the time. A lot of people are very oblivious of where they are at in life in terms of time. I'm turning 52. Don't believe the baby face. I'm turning 52 in August. The one thing that I am aware of, both physically, spiritually, and technically, is my age. I do not deceive myself. I'm not a 100-meter marathon runner. I can't do it. I know what time it is in my life. Many people act like they just showed up. And many times, it's the people that are serial entrepreneurs. There are people that constantly want to start up something new before something works. How would you feel? You know, like me and my sister, my immediate older sister, there's a gap of 2 years. We're close, but sometimes very, like, we can clash heads. But I do know that the only reason I tone down is the gap. You get the point? So I have learned the art of knowing when to do what purely because of the gaps. Many people don't know how to do that. We've had businesses that we established early in life so that only when we are stable can we be able to establish a new one. The reasoning is simple. If you're going to have babies every year of your life, you will never find rest. Because businesses, entrepreneurship are like children. You need to desire and determine to grow them properly. Because it's not every trend that you need to jump on. You will never get anywhere. So we've had businesses that we are determined until this is able to walk and run, we are not adding another one until we are very sure this is stable. Why am I saying that? It's very easy to hemorrhage funds, to literally bleed funds in trying to keep one organization afloat whilst killing another. That means you must understand you can't do everything in life. If you're going to occupy, it means you've got to finish what you start. It's not good enough to be fast or clever. It's important to stabilize one business before you get on to the next. Now, I know Christians have a tendency of overemploy. Because sometimes we do have a Jesus syndrome. We are Christians, so sometimes it's very difficult to shake it off. But I've learned in life that many Christians sometimes employ more people from church who are not conversant with what they're supposed to do and end up destroying the very thing that they wanted to build. Now, I'm cognizant of the fact that it's first to the household of faith, then after. But even in the household of faith, get competent people. Hire Christians that have the fear of God and the acumen to prosper your business. If you make that mistake, you will be a perpetual entrepreneur. A person who never made a profit but paid tithe. So you need to understand that there's a cycle. And in that cycle, there has to be discipline. And in that discipline, there has to be purpose. And as you walk along as a Christian, please, those of you that think every penny you see in the account is to be drawn, that's not the way businesses are run, eh? you must learn the art of being a good steward as a Christian. That means even when you make a profit, you need to remember the house of, the way I'm saying it friendly. Because you have to. We tithe over our profits. I don't know about you. I don't know if it will offend you, but that's what we do. I tithe over my pay. And I do tithe over our profits. Why? Because I'm not in business to be a charitable organization. I'm in business to occupy. Let me tell you, when we started the station, because that's what is known to a lot of people, and I'll get to the mining side. When we started the station, there were bigger players with deeper pockets. And they've been there. But for 14 years, they've never seen the light of day. And I'm not saying this with pride, because we were determined to sink them. I'm sorry if that sounds crude, but our determination was to be the best at what we do. That means if it's owned by your uncle, I'm sorry, but good at what we do that we would rather you listen to us than the competition. So there has to be things you put in place. And I feel as a Christian many a times, we fail because we do not plan properly. And many a times we can't see past our nose. And when the money gets good, many a times some of us don't even come to church. But that's a story for another day. I'm talking business here and I'm walking you through my life. So we do this for the longest of time. We quickly realize that businesses, so I'm back at home. When I'm home here, before I'm even making a profit, I'm sorry if your name is Esnat, but we used to call it Esnat. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, but I think those of our staff that come here, they know the story. It was so moody. One moment it's okay. The next moment it's not starting. And you're looking, what's the problem with it? It was like that for the longest of time. But to cut the long story short, I'm the only person that probably in that organization that has a normal car now. So when my manager asked me, we need a car. Because we have to pick people at night, we have to pick people in the morning. I'm like, okay, I'll surrender mine. So I surrender my car. But you know what? Drop me at Manda Hill so that I catch a bus and go to Avondale. So, great. He drops me off. I'm with my bag. I'm going home. I come off at Kweshako. My niece is like, hey. So she was coming from Kweshako. We walk home. I'm tired. I have my supper. I sleep. The following morning, the driver is outside. We're supposed to go for work. My mom, as I'm walking out of the door, my mom says, lelonga mwana kwata kwenshita, mwiseko bwangu, ninkwata kwe fyakolanda. Really? So for me, I'm like, Mama, I can sit, we talk. I don't know, no. Oh, sorry. Let me explain that in English. My mom then tells me that she would like to chat with me when I come back, if I could come back early. So eventually, I'm thinking at the office, why does Mom want to see me? So I get back home early, and my mom says, you know what, I was thinking, because I've noticed soap is a problem. I've noticed we're now struggling with food. So my mom runs me through a catalog of things that are missing in the house. And she lives with me. But for me, I remember when you used to work for Global and Partner. This was never an issue. Now, you must understand, my mom is my number one cheerleader. My mom is, we're tight like that. With my mom, I would sit on the floor and would chat for hours on end. So we are friends. Oh, she's my queen. So, when she just throws that my way, my world collapses. And I'm thinking, if my mom thinks I'm failing, we have a problem. But I brave it like, I've heard you, Mom. I'll think about it. Or if you can call that friend of yours at Gobo, the one that calls you sometimes. My mom has been listening to my conversations. So I look, I'm pretty like, okay. Long story short, I am discouraged now, isn't it? I have a good job. I had a good job at Global. Seriously, in Zambian terms, I was doing well at a couple of millions. But here I am investing back home. I'm literally not even having a car to go to. A car to drive at the office. There's that confusion. So, like I am despondent now. I am discouraged. So I get to the office. We had this. So we would meet in the morning with my nephew. We'll discuss the business of the day. We'll project things, look at things. So we're not even projecting those things. I'm like, I have a problem. Like, what's the problem? I need to get back to England. So he's in shock as well. I need to get back to England. Why? So I ran him through the story. So he was one of those calm guys. So he listens to the whole story. I'm literally panting. So that as soon as I finish that talk, I should quickly call Dean. I'm like, I'm coming back. Is there anything that I can be able to do? Then he says, do you really need to do that? So I look at him. I'm like, what? Like, listen. So he walks me through our business. That's why you need sensible partners in business. People that don't pander to your whims. That's my lesson. People that just don't tell you what you want to hear. Or people that don't walk with the crowd because it is what everybody's saying about you. He calls me back and says, no. Look at what you've done. This is where you've brought it. This is where we are. He runs me through our successes and said, the only thing that we do not have is the frequency change from 96.8 to 87.7. So if we have that, we will compete with everybody favorably and we will attack the market. And do you realize that you are the one who applied for the change in frequency? I'm like, hey. Okay. Then he tells me, let's give each other 6 months and see how we push. But let's push the license. Let's push everything else. I found an encourager that was honest with me, that was straight with me in business. Find people that are able to help you do business both correctly and openly. The minute you have business partners that are cutting corners, they will affect you eventually. They will hurt your business. They will hurt you as a person. They will hurt your family. If you're going to occupy, please remember there's something called ZRA. If you do not pay your taxes, your businesses will collapse. It's not a good story to tell you, but you need partners that are tax compliant. Somebody that is able to say, we haven't paid our taxes, we can't pay ourselves. It may look easy. It may like, no, but like I've got school fees to pay. This is not our money, it's taxman's money. We'll pay that first. What I'm telling you may not be fashionable, but it's what will take you from being an ordinary person among everybody else to a person that is going to occupy, to a person that comes to church with a viable business, to a person that is able to contribute to the work of God confidently. I'm not a pastor, forgot. But don't get a loan to look smart. That's what I'm trying to say. We can be good business people. We can do things properly. Anyway, I realize okay. So you won't have the secret. Yeah, but so once we get that going, we quickly realize something. Now, there's one thing that I want to tell you about God. God is so interested in you, you don't know. Like sometimes we're very casual about life, huh? Like, it is what it is. I went to church, came back, things are good, amen. So one day I'm walking into the office with my nephew because we we have car deficiencies, isn't it? So we have to pick each other, then get to the office. So we get to the office. As we're walking, so we come off the lift. As I'm walking to the door, I see one of our managers, our marketing manager. And you won't believe this. Immediately I see him. The Spirit of God tells me he's stealing. This may look funny, but it's like that, like bang. I'm like, now, I don't know if it's naivety on my part, but as soon as God tells me, I'm also saying it. I'm like, young man, I don't know what you're doing, but you're stealing. Now, I've just walked in with my nephew, and he's like, what on earth are you going to... like, this is our marketing manager, for crying out loud. How can you say that? So when we walk into our office, because we're sharing offices, some of you like the idea of big offices even before you can walk. Sometimes it's good to wait. You won't believe I only had my own office 7 years after we launched some of these businesses. I was ready to squat until the business can walk. But that's besides the point. What I then realized was my nephew is not happy with the statement I just made. But more so, it's where I am sure it's God. But I can't explain. Do you get the point? There's certain things that God has spoken to you. It's you he has spoken to. But if I try to explain, this is how I heard it, it will all look like, listen, this is becoming churchy here. So I just told him, listen, I'm very convinced about what God talked to me about. And anyway, that's what it is. No, maybe apologize. We need peace in the office. I'm like, no. I felt uncomfortable and, I wanted to make peace, so I went to his office. I'm like, are you okay? Is everything okay? Yeah, no, I'm all right. But you can tell it's not all right. But I wasn't going to apologize. Because, I'm not the one that said it. Somehow I felt it's not me, But the long and short of it is that I quickly, that day passes. And I can tell my nephew was not happy, I think. Next day, we're coming to the office. We come together, isn't it? As we're about to walk up the stairs, we meet a friend. And the friend says, oh, I'm coming. Where you go? No. We are walking out of the office. We meet a friend who's coming in. So he says, I'm coming to the office. I'm like, what, Sally? He says, no, I brought you some money now. Let's go up. No, we're rushing for a meeting. But go and see this guy upstairs. Oh, okay. He will help you. He'll do this, blah, 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 blah. So we rush for a meeting. At the meeting takes longer. Then our accountant calls us. We don't have operational funds. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have operational funds? In my head, Sally has paid. So, you won't believe. When I know God has just hit it, I'm like, okay. So I'm like, Mr. Twala, we do have funds. He says, no, we don't. Someone came in and they paid. Nope, nobody came in and paid. I pick up the phone. I said, Sally, how are you? How was it? How did you go? No, I went. I was attended by the same guy. Blah, blah. How much did you pay? I think it was 5 million something that time. Okay, 5,000 something. So I'm like, are you sure you paid? Did you cash or check? No, cash. I told you I had cash. Okay. Are you sure? Were you given a receipt? Yeah. We were given a receipt. So we get to the office. So as we're driving, as I'm talking to Sally, my nephew is listening. So we get to the office, and after getting to the office, apologies, I'll be done just now. As we get to the office, I walk in there, so I'm like, guys, did you get any money? Did you receive anything? No. I'm like, so my nephew is also there. I'm like, what did I tell you? I said, God said it yesterday before you that you are stealing. No, I didn't take any money. And he was stoic. I'm like, yo. And then I said, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Go and think about it. And then come to my office. Didn't come. Until I went to his office. I'm like, listen, Sally came, paid you. Here's a copy of the receipt. Where's the receipt book? By the time we were figuring out, we were 51 million down. Kwacha then. 51,000 kwacha. But what shocked me at that juncture is God's interest in my business. really? I'm like, why? Why? So I want to challenge you this morning. God is interested in your success. God does things for you that you don't see. And sometimes God does speak to us in ways we don't know. But at that particular time, like God just had to put it in the open. Like, you know what? You have a thief in your midst. Sometimes we think we are on our own as business people because you're battling corruption, you're battling everybody that wants to steal from you, and it's rampant. And sometimes you feel, where's God? But I want to challenge you today as a Christian. God is interested in your welfare. It matters what happens to you. That's why I do not take backhanders. I don't do corruption. I don't even bother paying bribes. Now some of you are like, number two, I like corruption. Let me tell you something. When we started, people were taking backhanders. When I came back, when I took over the business, everything stopped. We will not do this. And even I remember telling the partners in the business, why? No, like you can't do business in Zambia if you don't, like people need, like there are cartels. Like we will work with the cartels our way. The one thing that I quickly realized is Christians are also very amenable to bribes. Like one of the things that half the police know is that I will not pay them. They know. Even when they stop me, they check. They just, happy thing. They've gotten to know, not because I said it, because their systems now know that I won't. All our corporate partners, they will tell you, we do not pay backhanders. Not to their managers, not to the directors, not to anyone. It took us longer to make money. But I do not lose sleep over who is going to call me for that 10%. If you're going to build a business that will outlive you, you may as well begin to set standards that speaks to what you believe. Do you know why you're going to occupy? When people know that you're not for play. When people know you're serious about life and you're serious about business. Because many a times it's the case of, I just call him on the side or call his handler. They'll lighten the burden and they'll take the money. If you receive any money on my behalf, I will fire you. I promise you. If I find out, even if you're that director, the big one, you will go. Why? I refuse to be represented poorly. So, as I hand over, I want to challenge you. I'll share the secrets later. I want to challenge you. These are the secrets. You didn't think so. Lastly, the only thing that I learned when I was 17 years as a Christian is being diligent. Now, if there's one word that I know from back to back, is diligence. And I want to challenge you to find time to look at scripture that speaks on diligence. Scripture that speaks to the life of a Christian who's diligent. Scripture that speaks to a life of a person that is able to be excellent. I am privileged to speak to you people today. I don't take this lightly. I'm grateful to Bishop. I'm grateful to Ma'am. I'm grateful to the rest of the team. Thank you.